In this week's news, political leaders call for links between sport and alcohol to be broken. Pope Francis formally addresses the United Nations. And VeggieTales creator Phil Vischer is set to release a new kids' movie.
This is InFocus Christian News and Current Affairs.
Hello, it's great you could join us this week. I'm Kent Kingston and my co-host is Sibel Coutet.
It's good to be here. Now, Kent, it's a real mixed bag today, isn't it? I mean, for starters, we're learning a bit more about the ancient Assyrian king Sennacherib.
Well, Sibel, of course, you know, the idea is that at the end of an InFocus episode, you're always better educated and better informed than you were at the beginning. We'll also today meet another obscure and possibly mythological character, the nagging wife.
Oh, definitely mythological.
Oh.
And today's interview?
Yeah, moving right along, Sibel? Yes, Lawrence Storby is coming in today. He's a Melbourne chiropractor whose world was turned upside down by one visit to Solomon Islands. Beware mission trips, Sibel, they can change your life.
OK, well, let's get on with the news then.
Go for it.
New South Wales Premier Mike Baird has joined the chorus of community and church leaders concerned about the too cosy associations between sport and alcohol sponsors. Speaking at a community fundraising event focusing on the damage caused by alcohol-fuelled violence, the Premier said he's uncomfortable with alcohol logos being so prominently displayed on Australia's cricket team uniforms. The Australian Christian lobby gives credit to Mr Baird for his part in ensuring that the recent Big Bash cricket competition was free from alcohol advertising. A number of Australian church bodies have long warned of the health, social and moral dangers of alcohol.
You encourage sports where people, and sports helps people to become healthy. But at the same time, you encourage the drinking side of things. It doesn't make sense. It goes against logic.
An Australian-led evangelistic team has seen growing crowds of up to 10,000 gather for preaching and healing meetings in Vanuatu's capital, Port Vila. PNG evangelist Joseph Walters kicked off the first 4 nights of the Miracle Crusade series, which was completed by 5 nights of preaching by the Australian evangelist Tim Hall. The event's planning was hampered by the devastation of Cyclone Pam in March. Organisers had to literally rebuild the stage and other equipment damaged by the storm. In the lead-up to the series, Australian donors gave generously to help with emergency supplies and rebuilding homes destroyed by the cyclone. During the 9-night celebration of music, preaching and healing, thousands committed their lives to Christ, 5,000 alone on the final night. Organisers are already planning Miracle Crusade 2016. Rivalry between Christian churches in the southeast of Solomon Islands has come to a head, with a new Adventist church building being demolished and the small congregation told to leave the island. According to the Solomon Star newspaper, the island of Anuta is traditionally Anglican, but Bible studies by an Adventist mission volunteer have led to a handful of people becoming Seventh-day Adventist. When the small congregation built a bush materials chapel on donated land, a group of islanders led by the local Anglican priest dismantled the building, and local village chiefs ordered the Adventists off the island. Adventist leaders in Solomon Islands' capital, Honiara, are seeking a solution. For the first time in history, a Roman Catholic Pope has formally opened a session of the United Nations General Assembly. During his address to the UN, Pope Francis warned that the selfish and boundless thirst for power and material prosperity leads both to the misuse of available natural resources and to the exclusion of the weak and disadvantaged. He urged world leaders to care for the poor and human life at all its stages, to find effective agreements on slowing climate change, and to work towards nuclear disarmament. The Pope's visit to the UN and the United States has prompted apocalyptic speculation from some in the Christian community, with others calling for restraint and calm. At the United Nations meetings, governments from around the world approved a set of 17 global goals for sustainable development, which aim to end all forms of poverty by the year 2030. the Sustainable Development Goals replace the Millennium Development Goals, which expire this year despite being only partially achieved. To highlight the new global goals, faith leaders from around the world have been encouraged to participate in the Prayer for Everyone campaign. The World Council of Churches held a prayer session in Geneva to dedicate the global goals to God and express solidarity with their aims. The advent of the new Sustainable Development Goals has not been universally welcomed, however, with 48 African Catholic bishops and cardinals warning that the global goals are a front for a Western anti-family agenda. In a written statement to the United Nations, the Catholic leaders say UN support for reproductive rights is code for contraception, abortion and sex ed programs with inadequate attention to moral issues. The letter accuses the Global Goals agenda of perpetrating a new form of slavery, slowing African population growth to European levels, and destroying traditional African pro-family values. More than 100 parliamentarians from almost 50 countries around the world have sent joint letters to 3 authoritarian governments, pleading for more religious freedom in their countries. At a summit held in New York by the International Panel of Parliamentarians for Freedom of Religion or Belief, the elected representatives drafted letters to leaders of countries dominated by Buddhism, Islam and Communism, Myanmar, Iran and Vietnam. The International Panel of Parliamentarians launched in 2014 and represents political leaders from Europe, Africa, the Middle East and Latin America. The event was co-sponsored by the International Religious Liberty Association, an interfaith body coordinated by the Seventh-day Adventist Church. Following the Adventist World Church's controversial decision in July this year not to fully ordain women pastors, regional church leaders in Norway and Denmark say they will no longer ordain pastors at all. The president of the Seventh-day Adventist Church in Norway said the decision is a matter of conscience and that the Global Adventist Church has not been following a biblical model of ordination for many years. The Church in Norway will no longer report numbers of ordained ministers to General Conference world leaders and will not use the language of ordination to describe its qualified ministers. At the same time, Adventist church leaders in Denmark voted to continue the suspension of ordinations they've had in place since 2013. They're asking the General Conference to confirm that working policies allow for pastors to be credentialed outside of the usual categories of ordained or commissioned. The creator of VeggieTales, Phil Vischer, is releasing his first feature-length movie for kids in nearly a decade.
What if God wanted us to take His love to the entire galaxy? Who might be brave enough for that mission?
Well, me, of course.
Galaxy Buck.
According to Christian Newswire, Galaxy Buck Mission to Sector 9 follows the adventures of a missionary sent to share God's love in outer space.
God isn't asking you to do big things. He's asking you to be with Him. Trust Him. Rest in Him.
Galaxy Buck will be released in the US later this month. And that's the news for this week. Kent?
Thanks, Sibel. Now, you said that this is Phil Vischer's first film in about 10 years. What was the last one? Was that the Jonah movie?
No, the Jonah movie was in 2003, but after that was The Pirates Who Don't Do Anything.
Arr, the pirates who don't do anything. I remembers it well. Now don't ye do anything, ye mateys. We'll be back before you know it.
Travel back in time to ancient civilizations with Archaeological Diggings digital magazine. In this issue, we find out who were those lesser-known female pharaohs. Also, we follow an expert through London's antiquities shops on the hunt for contraband artefacts and turn-up relics, the product of ISIS looters. And we look at the origins of the Silk Road and visit Palmyra, its western terminus. Don't miss an issue. Subscribe online or ask for Archaeological Diggings at your local newsagent.
The media targets our goals with destructive messages. But is there an alternative? Yes, it's Gigi. Gigi is a great new magazine for teenage girls that uplifts good Christian values. Finally, a way to pass on our values in a way the teenage girls in our life will love. So give a subscription to a teenage girl you love today. Visit gigimagazine.com.au. That's gigimagazine.com.au.
Hi, and welcome to History in Focus, where we're building up faith in the Word through rocks. I'm Adam Kavanagh, and I'm here with Gary Webster, editor of Archaeological Diggings magazine. Gary, how you going?
Good, thanks, Adam.
Good, good. And I said faith through rocks because
we've got
a bunch of rocks today. We've got a big one here, and we've got a equally as big one there. So maybe tell me first a little bit about this. What are we looking at?
Well, what you're looking at here, I think I need to tell you the whole story first.
Okay.
Then it'll get in focus, sort of thing.
You're the expert.
We're going back to Sennacherib's time. You've heard of Sennacherib?
No.
Well, Sennacherib was a king of Assyria, mentioned in the Bible, and he attacked the Israelites who were ruled at this time on the southern kingdom of Judah, ruled by Hezekiah. And I'm sure you've heard of Hezekiah.
Heard of Hezekiah.
Well, this is mentioned a lot in the Bible. It talks about all the details, and archaeologists have found some incredible confirmation of the whole story.
Okay, and that's what we're looking at when we look at these. Okay, great.
For example, this one here that you wanted to know about right from the start.
Yeah.
This is from the water tunnel. The Bible mentions he built a water tunnel to bring water into the city during the siege by the Assyrians. And this was stolen, actually, from that water tunnel. You can walk through the water tunnel
So
today.
it's basically graffiti.
Yeah, it is graffiti, exactly.
Okay.
It tells you how his workmen started at each end of the and worked toward each other and built this tunnel and joined in the middle here.
While they rode along the way.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that was the Hezekiah tunnel, and that's mentioned in the story. He brought water into the city, because if you're going to get besieged, you want to make sure your water's...
Plenty of water.
Not only that, the archaeologists discovered the Assyrians recorded the Battle of Lachish, because it mentions Lachish in the Bible as a city which is down southwest of Jerusalem, and they attacked that one. And they've discovered all the graffiti, if you like, that the Assyrians put on their walls.
So this is civilizations outside of Israel that are actually writing about the battles that the Bibles...
Yeah. So it wasn't just the Bible that talked about this. It was these other people.
And is it talking about them in the same light as what the Bible does?
Oh,
there's no glorying in the word that we see, or
no, the Assyrians certainly didn't mention their defeats. Let me tell you about. That's why we've got this one here. This is known as the Sennacherib Prison. There are 3 of these, and this is one from the British Museum.
A miniature, obviously.
No, this is the right size. It's a replica.
That's the right size.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
If you can read it.
Yeah.
Now, this tells us when the Bible says the Assyrians came at this time, he attacked cities in Judah. But when he comes to Jerusalem, he said, I just shut up Hezekiah like a bird in a cage. And the Bible says he never took Jerusalem. He captured the other ones, but it doesn't say, it says he didn't take it. And this says the same thing, he didn't take it. He just shut him up like a bird in a cage. So tremendous evidence that the Bible is historically accurate.
Yeah, and as far back as the Old Testament.
Yeah.
Because I know a lot of the times we look at the New Testament and we focus on the life of Jesus, and there's a lot of people trying to debunk, the New Testament, but now we're looking at things well into the past, which are actually being affirmed.
One other thing that's good about this, Hezekiah, when he heard the Assyrians were coming to town, because they'd impale people, they would skin them alive and behead them. A lovely bunch. He said, God help me. And this is evidence that his prayer was answered, because Isaiah said, they're not even going to shoot an arrow in here. And this basically says the same thing in another sense.
Even an unrighteous person like Hezekiah and ourselves, prayers get answered. Yeah, it's beautiful stuff. Thanks, Gary. Stay tuned. We'll be back with more InFocus after the break.
Travel back in time to ancient civilizations through this bi-monthly magazine, Archaeological Diggings. In this issue, we find out who were those lesser-known female pharaohs. Also, we follow an expert through London's antiquities shops on the hunt for contraband artefacts and turn-up relics, the product of ISIS looters. And we look at the origins of the Silk Road and visit Palmyra, its western terminus. Don't miss an issue. Subscribe online or ask for Archaeological Diggings at your local newsagent.
Welcome to Family in Focus. I'm Monica Galash.
Trafford, I'm so glad you're here.
Okay.
A little while ago, we did a segment about forgetful husbands.
We did. I remember
And
that.
we copped a lot of flack afterwards
Truly?
online about these forgetful husbands saying, well, what about the nagging wives? What about the nagging wives, Trafford?
They've been around for a long time.
They have.
Solomon wrote about it.
It's an ancient problem.
It is. He said it's better to live in an attic than in a large house with a nagging woman. So he must have experienced it. Why is it a woman thing?
Yeah.
I read recently on some research, this Dr. Jamie Turndorf, a couples therapist, said this: women take on the lion's share of nagging because many women find it difficult to directly communicate their needs.
Okay.
They fall into the fatal trap of whining and nagging about what they aren't getting rather than directly stating what they want, need or expect from their partner.
Okay, so how do you know if you're a nag?
I think one of the best signs of a nagger is when you said the same thing 5 times, getting louder and louder, and you do it on a regular basis. If you find yourself sort of constantly saying the same thing to your partner, whinging about not getting something happening, not getting a response, I think you've become a nagger.
Now, please tell me you brought some advice on how to have a happier home. What's some takeaways for the naggy and the nagger?
Okay, the nagger needs to do some climate control, right?
Okay.
Because usually there's a lot of emotion. There's a lot of, why don't you do this? And, there's a lot of complaining and nagging. Calm it down, calm it down. Now, that's hard to do when you're all angry and anxious and annoyed, but if we can learn that strategy, let's keep this calm, because the research shows when we start off calmer, we've got a better chance of response, because why we nag, I think, is that there's no evidence in the response. He's not listening. He's not hearing me. He's not hearing me. And we encourage wives and partners to say, not you are not listening, but you are not giving me your full attention.
Okay.
So the husbands need to respond. So this is a two-way street. The nagger and the naggy. The nagger needs to recognise, the naggy, the one being nagged, needs I'm being nagged because I'm not giving a response. I'm not letting my partner know that I'm here, I'm interested, I'm hearing what you're saying. So they own this as well. Right?
Okay.
So it's a two-way street. So if it's the guy, he needs to say, hey, I'm hearing you. Let me just check. Look, just now the footy's on, but I promise I'll get to you.
Preferably the first time, though.
That would be good. Not the 5th. So you're right. Let's respond when we hear it. Yeah? And start calm as possible. Avoid the escalation. As soon as you start escalating, it's going to come unstuck.
Sure is.
Keep it down. Make sure you've got the real message. And I encourage couples, hey, if you feel as if you're not being heard, write it down. Please put it. Experiment.
Post it to his forehead.
Yeah, that's serious. But it's got to be fun. But you're right, it can be hurtful. And it damages intimacy. So we've got to make that change.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Trafford. And I hope you have happier homes today. Stick around. We'll see you after the break.
Discover some of these artists from Salter Music. Anna Weatherup.
Oh, people get ready for the train to Jordan.
Castles in Air.
Like watchmen wait for the morning light.
Eric and Monique.
You alone are my strength, my refuge.
Sapphire.
His love reached the bottom of the ocean.
No matter what shade of musical taste you have, you might just find something that sings to you. It's all waiting to be discovered at saltermusic.com. Fresh and exciting original Christian music from Salter Music.
Hi, welcome back. Well, we have a very interesting guy in the studio with us this morning. This is Lawrence Staub. You're a chiropractor, Lawrence, in Melbourne, which is good because, later. But tell me, what's a chiropractor from Melbourne doing in the Solomon Islands? Because you've been visiting there quite a lot. What happened?
That's correct. Well, 4 years ago, I was actually asked to go to a remote corner of the Solomon Islands, the Makura province on the island of San Cristobal, to conduct an audit on a remote aid post.
Medical
aid post, by the name of Harania. And I was just asked if I could do an audit there, come back with a report.
Just,
and then,
just as a volunteer helping out?
That's correct. This started as the Adopt a Clinic program through my local church. So I thought, well, that'll be great fun. I had an auditing background in my previous career, and with the medical training that I had, I thought this will be done and dusted. And I said, look, I can offer some chiropractic care while I'm over there, and they said that'd be fantastic. There'll be about 100 people there with neck and back pain. And I thought, well, that'll be a good way to fill the time. And luckily, I had a colleague come with me, and in the 5 days that we were there, we had 1,300 people converge on the aid post, 1,100 of which received chiropractic care.
And everyone doing what I just did. Oh, it's just here, a little bit lower. When I do this goes down my arm.
That's right. And look, it was unbelievable. Look, we were exposed to the culture there for the first time, and it was just so rewarding to connect with people and to also see what their needs and challenges were, and particularly the skin disease that they have over there, which they call buckwheat, which is a form of tinea that can cover their whole body, and it's very socially isolating, particularly for young children. And of course, as you can imagine, I went back to Australia just buzzing with everything I'd experienced, and of course, everyone around me, in my church, and even just the wider community were rallied around me and said, look, wow, Lawrence, that's incredible, what can we do?
So you suddenly confronted all these needs out there. It's like a remote area, a village sort of setting.
Yeah, it was literally, like it was about, 2.5 hours boat ride from Kirikiri, where you land in the plane. So there's no roads out there. It's quite isolated. So, you have a medical crisis. I mean, you've got to have the money to pay for petrol to get into boat to go to the provincial hospital, or you die. It really is.
It takes that long to get there. That. Sometimes
that's right. So, we had helped out in that respect already with an outboard motor, but not with all of the other needs that were there. So since that time, we've actually helped out with the water supply there, and of course, the requests started coming in from other places. We've got a place here that needs a water supply. We've got a place here that needs some, medical training or so forth. So we found ourselves having a fairly strong development focus with medical care and the training.
Okay, so now you're the director of a new charity called, was it South Pacific Allied Health?
That's correct.
And I mean, I guess you didn't foresee that happening. Is you go for a trip and end up with your own charity?
At all. Look, I had to do this because people wanting to give, and I thought, look, I've actually got to keep this, above board, of course. So
you've got to be accountable for that.
That's right. We've got to be accountable. So we're, a registered charity, not-for-profit charity, and people have given in all sorts of ways. Not just with money. People have given equipment. People have also have given of their time. Not just over there, but also here in Australia. And look, it's taken off, like wildfire now. We're across social media, and people are getting, more and more involved. We're getting more organisations that are taking notice and wanting to support us. Wow. So having something like that set up has been very inclusive, not just for church people, but also for people who aren't connected with church, because it's a way of them, connecting with this whole program without having to, directly having to confront a church, I suppose, because not everybody's, comfortable with that. But no one has a problem with connecting with SPA, and nobody, has a problem with the fact that SPA's connected with the church.
But you've also involved people who don't have any particular faith at all, who are actually travelling out there to help out. What's the impact on them?
Well, Kent, they've just been as ingratiated as what we have. The whole experience is so rewarding. Look, people have had no connection with Christianity or the church whatsoever come over, and they've said, Lawrence, it's the best thing we've done in our entire lives. And they keep coming back.
The power of giving, eh?
It's just been superb.
Wow, that's incredible. So right now, what would you see as being the big needs in that region of Solomon Islands where you're working?
I would say one of the most critical needs over there is fresh, clean water. If you've got water, you've got currency for life.
Okay, and does this relate to the fungal skin disease
relates
you were talking about?
Relates to skin disease, relates to to diarrhea, it relates to cholera, it relates to to all sorts of communicable and infectious diseases over there. If you've got water, you've got a way of saving lives over there. It's a very
simple.
It's that simple, Ken. And so not only that too, you bring water into a community, and suddenly a community feels motivated to want to think more about its health and do more about its health.
Okay.
And so we find, we go in and install a water source in a particular area, and guess what? They will then say, well, we want to start now putting in sanitation, because they've got a way of actually manually flushing a toilet. And it's only $80 for a toilet.
So when you say putting in water, are you talking about running some sort of pipe, some sort of plumbing from a creek or a stream or a bore or something? And
yeah, absolutely. It's quite simple. We actually we just do a direct siphon from a water source that's at elevation, and siphon down into the village.
Does the rest.
That's right. You don't need much, and you've got really, really good pressure. So you put in a whole lot of water points and showers, and the people have got a very convenient way then of not just washing their bodies but washing their hands. After they've just touched someone with a communicable disease, for instance, and just ways of of just washing their pots and pans and utensils and whatever else they need to keep clean, like clothing.
Yeah, but it's something that's simple that I guess in a place like Australia, we take for granted, but it can make so much difference in a place like that.
It transforms communities. It's as simple as that. When I spoke to UNICEF when I was over there one time, they said, Lawrence, if there is one thing you need to get in a community above all else, they said it's water, and I really believe that from what I've seen.
Now, Lawrence, you said earlier that you do attend a church in Melbourne. You are a man of faith. How's this experience and what you've been involved in impacted you personally in terms of your spirituality?
It's changed every aspect of my Christian life, Kent. When you become a Christian, you're so excited about that. And when I started to do the short-term mission work in the Solomon Islands, it's totally transformed my Christian life. It's changed my entire approach to the way I see God, to the way I see people, and to the way that I relate to people both in and out of the church.
Wow. In what sense? Like how has it changed?
Well, I think it's just seeing how powerfully God will move in people's lives. That when you step forward and start to affect people's lives in this way, God actually steps forward with you in ways that I never anticipated in terms of what's been given to the project, in the way people have come forward, in the relationships that I've ratified with people that I didn't think was actually possible. I've seen God work in every aspect of this particular project.
Wow. Hey, thanks so much for being here, Lawrence.
Delighted.
I really appreciate it. If people do want to, check out what you're doing, do you have a website?
Yeah, we have a website, and we've got the links to the Facebook page and the YouTube channel, and also to Instagram.
Okay, well there you go. Well, the website details are right there on your screen. Thanks so much for your time and for your story. Really appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Ken.
We'll be back straight after the break.
Thousands of years ago, a series of ancient prophecies were disguised within a system of mysterious symbols. For centuries, these remarkable predictions have been sealed to the world until now. Check out our new Secrets of Prophecy online course today in 24 beautifully illustrated free studies at www.itiswrittenoceania.tv or call 1300 300 389 for your free copy today.
Planning your future can be a daunting task. What you want to do, who you want to be, and the road ahead can often be unpredictable. No one really knows what the future holds. Avondale. It's education designed for life.
Hello, well, that's about it from us for this week.
Now, if you missed part of today's programme or you'd like to share it with a friend, the best place to start is our website, record.net.au. All our videos are there.
Check it out. We'll see you next time on Record in Focus.
God bless.